Chapter 1: The Unexpected Proposal. Maya was 2 minutes late. Not that it mattered. The conference room was empty except for one very unwelcome visitor. Ethan. Of course it had to be Ethan. He was leaning casually against the glass wall, that infuriating smirk playing on his lips like he already knew he'd won. The same smirk that had haunted her dreams, and her worst hangovers, for the last 6 months. "What are you doing here?" Maya snapped, closing the door behind her with a little more force than necessary. "Business," Ethan said, stepping forward like he owned the place. "Or maybe just looking for you." She rolled her eyes but kept her voice steady. "Well, you found me. Now can you leave?" He didn't budge. Instead, he dropped a manila envelope on the table. "I need a favor." Maya raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening. This should be good. I want us to pretend we're still together." Her laugh came out sharp and incredulous. "You're joking." "Dead serious." She stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "Look, Sophie," he said with a casual wave of the hand, "my new girlfriend, she's complicated and jealous. So we fake it. Public dates, cute couple posts, the whole 9 yards. Maya shook her head, heart thudding with a mix of disbelief and something darker, annoyance? Lust? She couldn't tell anymore. "And what's in it for me?" she asked. Ethan's smirk grew wider. "A hefty payday, for starters." Her jaw clenched. Money couldn't buy back what she lost, but maybe it could buy some satisfaction. "Fine," she said, voice low. "I'm in. But don't expect me to play nice." He grinned. "Wouldn't dream of it." Chapter 2: The First Fake Date. Maya stared at her reflection in the mirror, twisting a strand of her dark hair nervously. The lipstick was a bold red, too bold, but Ethan had insisted. "If we're going to do this, we have to sell it." Her mind was a mess of nerves and reluctant excitement. Pretending to be with Ethan wasn't exactly on her bucket list, but here she was, about to step into the lion's den. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "Pick you up in 10. Don't flake." She rolled her eyes but smiled. At least he hadn't changed. The same cocky tone, the same dare to challenge her. The elevator dinged, and Ethan stepped out, impeccably dressed in a tailored black suit that screamed billionaire playboy. His eyes locked onto hers, flashing a grin that was equal parts infuriating and irresistible. "Ready?" he asked, voice low. Maya folded her arms, her inner fire sparking. "I'm always ready to show you how much better I look without you." Ethan laughed, a sound that used to make her heart race, but now only ignited a different kind of fire. "You haven't changed. Neither have you," she shot back. Their car ride was a tense silence punctuated only by Ethan's occasional smirk and Maya's pointed glares. This was going to be a long night. They arrived at an upscale rooftop restaurant, the city lights twinkling below like a sea of stars. Ethan pulled out her chair with a flourish. Maya rolled her eyes but took the seat. "All right, we need to make this believable," Ethan said, scanning the room like a general strategizing a battle. Maya sighed. "So, what's the plan? Hold hands? Whisper sweet nothings? Keep it casual but intimate enough to make Sophie sweat." He winked. She glared. "You really hate that girl." "I don't hate her," Ethan said smoothly. "I just don't want her thinking she's won." The waiter arrived, and Maya forced a smile, ordering a cocktail that felt like poison going down. Ethan's gaze never left her, and she felt the weight of every second they spent under his scrutiny. "So," Ethan began, leaning in slightly, "how's your job?" "Still climbing the corporate ladder, I see." Maya smirked. "Some things never change. I'm still better than you at it." He laughed. "Touché." Their conversation was a delicate dance, teasing, poking, hiding the layers of their shared history beneath the surface. Halfway through dinner, Maya caught Ethan's gaze lingering longer than it should. A flash of something raw, maybe regret, or something deeper. "I don't get why you agreed to this," he said quietly, almost vulnerable. Maya looked away, her throat tight. "Because sometimes, revenge is the only thing that feels real." He nodded, understanding flashing in his eyes. "You still hate me." She met his gaze, voice low. "Maybe, but maybe I miss you too." The admission hung between them like a secret they weren't ready to share. Their fake date quickly became the talk of their social circles. Sophie noticed. Texts flew, rumors spread, and the game escalated. Maya's phone buzzed again, This time a message from Sophie. Cute try. But you can't win him back. Maya smirked, typing back. Watch me. Ethan caught the message and raised an eyebrow. Playing with fire. Wouldn't be fun if I wasn't. Later, Maya met Leah at their favorite cafe. You're insane, Leah said, laughing. But this is the best drama I've seen in years. Maya grinned. I know. And it's only just started. Leah leaned in, eyes gleaming. So, are you going to let him win this time? Maya shrugged. We'll see. Chapter 3. The next morning, Maya woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing relentlessly on the nightstand. Groggy and still tangled in the sheets, she grabbed it, squinting at the screen. 10 missed calls. 3 texts from Leah. What the hell did you get yourself into? Send receipts ASAP, and, are you alive? She chuckled quietly, sitting up and running a hand through her hair. The fake date had already become the talk of the town, and apparently, Leah was leading the charge in their little corner of the world. Maya typed back a quick message. Alive. Kinda. Survived the suit and smirk combo. Updates soon. Then she put the phone down and rolled her shoulders. This game was going to be harder than she thought. Her mind wandered back to last night, the way Ethan had looked at her, the fleeting softness behind his usual cocky grin. It unsettled her, more than she cared to admit. She had spent months convincing herself she was better off without him, but pretending to be his girlfriend had cracked something open. She shoved the thought away. This was a game, nothing more. The day at work dragged. Maya sat through meetings, her mind only half on the presentations as she scrolled through the social media blow-up from last night's date. Photos of her and Ethan smiling together, captions dripping with sarcastic affection, comments flooding in from curious friends and nosy strangers. Sophie's subtle digs were everywhere, but so were the fans rallying behind Maya. It was chaotic, and exactly what Ethan had planned. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Ethan. Dinner tonight? We need to keep the streak alive. Maya smiled despite herself. She shot back. Only if you're ready to face round 2 of verbal warfare. Ethan replied instantly. Bring it on. That evening, Maya arrived at the swanky restaurant Ethan had picked out with a sense of determination. If this was going to be a public performance, she was going to be the star. She spotted Ethan at the bar, effortlessly charming as always, already chatting with the bartender. He looked up, eyes narrowing with a teasing glint as he spotted her. Well, if it isn't my favorite ex, he said, grinning. Ready to play pretend some more? Maya smirked, walking up to him. I've been ready. You? Ethan raised his glass in a mock toast. Always. Their table was in a dim corner, perfect for whispered conversations and dramatic glances. The waiter arrived, and they both ordered wine, the tension between them simmering beneath the surface. So, Ethan began, swirling his glass. How's life treating the woman who's clearly out of my league? Maya arched an eyebrow. Flattering as always. And you? Still charming your way out of trouble? Only when necessary, he replied smoothly. They bantered back and forth, the familiar rhythm of their conversations wrapping around them like a comfortable, dangerous dance. The public might see a couple flirting, but underneath, old wounds were bubbling to the surface. After dinner, Ethan suggested a walk along the nearby riverfront. The city lights reflected on the water, casting a romantic glow that felt cruelly ironic. They strolled side by side, the space between them charged with unspoken words. I don't get why you agreed to do this, Ethan said quietly. You hate me. Maya stopped, looking out at the river. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But this, she gestured between them. This is the only way I can make you pay for walking away. Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. You don't know the whole story. Things weren't as simple as you think. She looked at him sharply. Try me. He hesitated but then took a breath. Sophie, she's not who you think she is. There's more going on than you know. Maya's heart clenched with a mix of anger and curiosity. What do you mean? Before Ethan could answer, her phone buzzed loudly in her pocket. She pulled it out. Another text from Sophie. Stop wasting your time. He's mine. Ethan's jaw tightened. I'm not sure she's playing fair. Maya laughed bitterly. Welcome to my world. Back at her apartment, Maya collapsed onto the couch, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster. Leah was already there, a bowl of popcorn in hand and an expectant smile on her face. "So?" Leah asked. "How was date 2 of the doomed love story?" Maya groaned. "Messier than I thought." He actually tried to explain himself. Leah snorted. "Big mistake. Don't give him an inch." Maya smiled, grateful for her friend's unyielding support. "I'm trying. But it's not easy. There's still something there." "Yeah, like a ticking time bomb," Leah teased. "Just don't get caught in the blast." They spent the evening strategizing their next moves, crafting social media posts to fuel the drama and planning subtle ways to poke at Sophie without crossing the line. The next day, Maya's world took another unexpected turn. Derek, the enigmatic rival from Ethan's business circle, reached out with an unexpected message. "I hear you're playing a dangerous game. Need an ally?" Maya stared at the screen, curiosity piqued. Derek had always been an enigma, charming but with an edge that made her wary. Still, she was in deep now, and allies were hard to come by. She typed back, "Depends on what you want." His reply was swift. "To watch the fireworks, and maybe help you win." As the fake dating charade continued, Maya found herself navigating a web of jealousy, deception, and lingering feelings. Sophie ramped up her attacks. Ethan's secrets began to unravel, and Maya realized that what started as a game was quickly turning into something much more complicated, and much more real. Chapter 4. Maya didn't usually answer her phone when Ethan called, but something about the persistent buzzing, loud and insistent, made her finally give in. She glanced at the screen. "Ethan." "Hey," his voice was low, different, no smugness, no teasing. "We need to talk." She raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you ever say, 'we need to talk,' without it meaning trouble?" "Exactly why I'm calling. It's Sophie." He paused. "Things are worse than I thought." Maya frowned. "What do you mean?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She's not just jealous. She's dangerous. There's stuff I didn't tell you before, stuff you should know." Maya's heart skipped a beat, a mixture of dread and curiosity flooding her. "Okay, I'm listening." They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe, a neutral zone away from prying eyes. When Maya arrived, Ethan was already there, looking serious, almost vulnerable. He slid a manila envelope across the table. "This is everything I have on Sophie. Legal troubles, shady business deals, even a restraining order from a former partner. She's not the innocent girlfriend she pretends to be." Maya's fingers trembled as she flipped through the documents. Photos, court papers, messages. It was a web of lies and manipulation. "So that's why you wanted to fake date me," Maya said slowly, connecting the dots. "To expose her?" Ethan nodded. "And to keep her away from my life before she drags me down." Maya looked up, meeting his eyes. "You could have told me sooner." "I was trying to protect you," he said quietly. The revelation shifted their dynamic. They were no longer just pretending to be a couple for show. They were partners against a common enemy. But old habits died hard. Their conversations still crackled with sarcasm and biting wit, but beneath the surface, a fragile trust was rebuilding. "Let's make a deal," Maya said, a sly smile tugging at her lips. "We work together, but the moment this gets messy, I'm out." Ethan laughed. "Deal. But don't expect me to go easy on you." Meanwhile, Sophie wasn't sitting idle. Her social media posts grew more aggressive, subtly targeting Maya with veiled insults and carefully staged photos of her and Ethan looking happy. Maya's phone buzzed constantly with messages, some from concerned friends, others from fans rallying behind her. The line between reality and performance blurred as the fake dating game spiraled into a high-stakes battle. One night, Maya received an anonymous tip. Sophie was planning something big, something that could ruin them both. Determined to stay ahead, Maya and Ethan started digging deeper into Sophie's past. Their late-night research sessions were filled with tense silences, shared frustrations, and moments of unexpected closeness. One night, after hours of sifting through files, Ethan looked at Maya and said, "You're more stubborn than I remember." Maya smirked. "And you're still full of surprises." They shared a look that lingered longer than usual, the past and present colliding in a charged moment neither could ignore. Leah noticed the change too. Over coffee, she warned Maya, "Be careful. This isn't just a game anymore. You're getting too involved." Maya nodded, torn between caution and the pull of old feelings. "I know." But I'm not backing down. Meanwhile, Derek's messages became more frequent, offering help but also complicating the web of alliances and rivalries. As Sophie's attacks grew bolder, Maya realized the game had changed. It wasn't just about jealousy or revenge anymore, it was about survival. The fake dating charade was no longer just a performance. It was a battle for control, for truth, and maybe, for second chances. Chapter 5. The cold morning air bit at Maya's cheeks as she stepped out of her apartment building, her mind already racing through the endless possibilities of what the day could bring. The last few weeks had been a whirlwind of fake dates, whispered threats, and burning glances that left her restless at night. Yet, despite all the chaos, there was something intoxicating about being back in Ethan's orbit, even if it was just a staged performance. Her phone buzzed immediately as she locked the door behind her. "Meet me at the office. We have to talk." "Ethan." Maya sighed and typed back, "Fine. But this better not be another dangerous Sophie update." She wasn't sure if she was more exhausted or exasperated by their ongoing game. Sometimes it felt like they were circling each other, pretending to be something they weren't, while the walls they'd built over the years quietly cracked. When she arrived at Ethan's sleek, glass-walled office downtown, he was already there, pacing. The expression on his face was unreadable, a mixture of frustration and something darker. "Morning," Maya said, folding her arms and leaning against the doorway. Ethan stopped and gave her a brief, almost reluctant smile. "Morning. Sit. We need to figure out our next move." Maya slid into the chair opposite his desk, eyeing him carefully. "Is this about Sophie again?" He nodded, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's escalating. I got a call last night. Someone tried to break into my apartment." Her breath caught. "Are you serious?" "Yeah. Security caught them before anything happened, but it's clear Sophie's not messing around." Maya swallowed hard. This wasn't just a game anymore. The stakes were real. "We can't just keep pretending," she said quietly. "We need a plan that actually works." Ethan met her gaze. "Agreed." They spent the next hour strategizing, their voices low but urgent as they mapped out how to expose Sophie's lies without putting themselves in more danger. The lines between business and personal blurred rapidly, leaving Maya more entangled in Ethan's world than she'd expected. Later that day, Maya met Leah for lunch at their usual spot, a cozy cafe tucked away from the city's hustle. Leah's bright eyes immediately searched Maya's face for any sign of the turmoil she knew was brewing. "So?" Leah asked, stirring her coffee. "What's the verdict?" Maya sighed. "It's getting worse. Someone actually tried to break into Ethan's place." Leah's brow furrowed. "This isn't just about jealousy anymore." "No," Maya agreed, "and I don't think Sophie's going to stop." Leah gave her a pointed look. "You're playing with fire, Maya. Are you sure you want to keep doing this?" Maya hesitated, her mind flashing back to Ethan's haunted eyes earlier that morning. "I don't have a choice." Leah nodded slowly, her expression softening. "Just, don't get burned." That evening, Maya found herself pacing in her apartment, the weight of the day pressing down on her. Her phone buzzed again, this time it was Derek. "Need to meet. Got info you'll want to hear." Curiosity piqued, Maya quickly replied, "When and where?" His response was almost immediate. "Coffee shop. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Don't be late." Maya debated whether to trust Derek. His intentions had always been murky, but right now, any edge against Sophie was worth exploring. The next morning, the cafe was bustling, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the low hum of conversation. Maya spotted Derek in the corner, casually dressed but with an intensity that made her heart beat faster. He waved her over, sliding a folder across the table as she sat. "I've been digging," Derek said, voice low. "Sophie's not just dangerous, she's connected to some serious players. Money laundering, blackmail, things Ethan probably doesn't even know about." Maya flipped through the folder, her pulse quickening as the evidence piled up. This was bigger than she'd imagined. "Why tell me this?" she asked, suspicion creeping into her voice. "Because," Derek leaned in, eyes locked on hers, "I want Sophie gone as much as you do. But we need to be smart. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about survival." Maya nodded, the gravity of the situation sinking in. They had to be careful. Every move could have consequences far beyond a messy breakup. Back at her apartment, Maya's phone lit up with a video message from Ethan. He was standing on his rooftop, the city skyline stretching behind him as the evening sun dipped low. "Check your social," he said, voice urgent. "Sophie's escalating. We need to shut this down, fast." Maya pulled up her phone and saw a new post from Sophie, a carefully staged video dripping with insinuations and thinly veiled threats aimed at Maya. Comments flooded in, some supporting Sophie, others rallying behind Maya. The battle for public opinion was fierce. Days blurred as Maya and Ethan's fake relationship morphed into something neither fully understood. Every interaction crackled with tension, sometimes playful, sometimes painfully real. One night, after a particularly tense argument, Ethan caught Maya off guard with a question. "Do you ever think about what we had before all this mess?" Maya stared at him, the words hitting deeper than she expected. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But thinking doesn't change what happened." He nodded slowly. "No, it doesn't." The silence between them was heavy, filled with everything left unsaid. As Sophie's attacks grew more dangerous, Maya knew they were running out of time. With Derek's intel and Ethan's growing trust, she felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could take Sophie down and finally move on. But deep down, a voice whispered that the biggest battle wasn't with Sophie. It was with the feelings they were trying to bury beneath the smoke and mirrors. Chapter 6. Maya sat by her window, the city lights casting long shadows across her apartment. The hum of traffic below felt distant, almost unreal compared to the storm raging inside her. The last few days had been a non-stop onslaught of emotions, revelations, and threats. Sophie's attacks had gone beyond petty social media jabs. They were now invasive and dangerous. Her phone vibrated, breaking the silence. A message from Ethan. "Meet me. We need to talk. Now." No time to hesitate. Maya grabbed her coat and headed out into the chill night, the cold biting through her as she made her way to the rendezvous point. A quiet, dimly lit park not far from Ethan's office. The place felt ominous, but also strangely intimate. Ethan was already there when she arrived, pacing near a bench, the weight of exhaustion and worry etched into his sharp features. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," he replied, his voice low, a rare vulnerability slipping through. They sat, the silence thick before Ethan finally spoke. "I got a call today. From someone close to Sophie. They're planning something big, something that could ruin both of us." Maya's heart hammered. "What exactly?" Ethan looked around before lowering his voice. "It's a corporate scandal. Something involving Ethan's company. Sophie's been quietly gathering dirt on me, and she's ready to use it." Maya clenched her fists. "We need to stop her." He nodded. "But it's not just about the company. It's about control. She wants to destroy everything I've built." For the first time, Maya saw the raw fear behind Ethan's usual confident facade. It unsettled her, made the stakes feel terrifyingly real. Back in her apartment, Maya's phone buzzed again. This time it was Derek. Meeting moved up. Same place. Now. Her mind reeled. Derek's sudden urgency was a bad sign. When she arrived, Derek was already there, face grim. "I've confirmed it," he said immediately. "Sophie's about to leak confidential files that could bankrupt Ethan's company and drag him into legal chaos." Maya's breath hitched. "How do we stop it?" Derek shrugged. "We need to get ahead. Find the source of the leak and cut it off. But we'll have to move fast." Maya and Ethan threw themselves into a tense alliance, navigating corporate espionage, backdoor deals, and late-night stakeouts. The line between their fake relationship and reality blurred further as their shared battles forged a fragile trust. One night, Ethan caught Maya staring out at the city skyline from his penthouse balcony. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. She hesitated. "Us. All of this. It's complicated." He smiled wryly. "You think?" Their eyes locked, the charged silence speaking louder than words. "I never stopped caring," Ethan admitted, voice raw. Maya's breath caught. "Neither did I." But Sophie wasn't done. Her next move was personal. Maya received a package, an old photo of her and Ethan, torn in half, with a note. "You think you can replace me? Think again." The message was clear. Sophie wasn't just attacking Ethan's business. She was going after Maya. Determined not to back down, Maya rallied her friends, including Leah, who helped craft a plan to counter Sophie's moves both online and offline. Their campaign was subtle but powerful, showcasing Maya's strength, resilience, and the truth behind the drama. The public's opinion began to shift. Supporters flooded in, tipping the scales. Yet, the tension between Maya and Ethan simmered beneath the surface. One late evening, as they reviewed new evidence in Ethan's office, the air thick with unspoken feelings, Ethan finally took her hand. "This isn't just a game anymore," he said softly. Maya met his gaze. "No, it's not." Their lips met, tentative at first, then with growing intensity. A kiss that held years of regret, hope, and something dangerously close to love. But just as things seemed to be turning, Maya's phone rang. It was Sophie. Her voice cold and venomous. "You think you've won? This is far from over." Maya's fingers trembled as she ended the call. The battle was only just beginning. Chapter 7. The morning light filtered softly through the curtains, but Maya barely noticed. Her mind was a whirlwind. The phone call from Sophie the previous night still echoed like a sharp blade through her thoughts. That chilling voice, the promise that this fight wasn't over, it haunted her. She stared at the coffee cup in her hands, the warmth doing little to calm the storm inside. Every second felt heavier, weighed down by the knowledge that Sophie wasn't just some jealous ex. She was dangerous, and unpredictable. Maya's phone buzzed on the table, jolting her back. A text from Ethan. "Come to the office. Now. We need to talk, and plan." Maya exhaled, bracing herself. There was no more running or pretending. This was a war, and it was time to fight back with everything she had. When she arrived at Ethan's office, the atmosphere was tense. Ethan was already pacing, a mix of exhaustion and determination in his eyes. "Sit," he commanded softly. "We don't have much time." Maya sat, her heart pounding. Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced down, his face darkening. "It's Sophie," he muttered. "She's stepping up her game." "How?" Maya demanded. He tapped a few buttons and pulled up a live newsfeed on the large screen behind his desk. The headline screamed, "Scandal rocks Ethan Carter's corporation. Allegations of fraud and embezzlement." Maya's stomach dropped. This wasn't just a rumor anymore. Sophie had leaked false information to the media, and it was spreading like wildfire. "They're going to destroy everything," Ethan said through clenched teeth. Maya's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure they don't." Together, they began crafting a plan. It was messy, balancing public relations, legal counsels, and damage control, all while keeping Sophie at bay. Late into the night, their collaboration forced them to navigate fragile moments, where old feelings resurfaced beneath the stress. During a brief lull, Ethan looked at Maya, voice softer than before. "I never wanted you to get caught in this." Maya shrugged. "I'm already caught." He smiled wryly. Maybe caught isn't the right word. Their eyes met, electric and loaded with everything neither dared say aloud. Meanwhile, Sophie watched from the sidelines, her influence growing. She wasn't just trying to ruin Ethan, she wanted Maya out of the picture for good. That night, Maya's apartment was hit with a power outage. The darkness wrapped around her like a threat. Her phone buzzed with a message. "You can't hide from me." Fear prickled at her skin, but so did something else. Resolve. Leah and Derek joined forces with Maya and Ethan, building a network of allies. They traced Sophie's connections, exposing her lies and bringing forward evidence to discredit her. It was a dangerous game of cat and mouse, each side waiting for the other to slip. In one vulnerable moment, Maya confided in Ethan, her voice barely a whisper. "I never stopped loving you, you know." He took her hand, the warmth a stark contrast to the cold battle outside. "Neither did I." They held on to that fragile connection, the only anchor in the chaos surrounding them. But Sophie was relentless. Her final card was a bombshell. A video that appeared to show Ethan betraying Maya's trust in a business deal. The video spread like wildfire, shaking Maya to her core. Maya and Ethan had to face the storm head-on, not just the external attacks but the doubts creeping between them. They knew the road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, they faced it together. Chapter 8. Maya sat frozen on her couch, the screen of her laptop glaring with the damning video. It was everywhere, her phone flooded with messages, her social media exploding with comments, and the news outlets picking up the scandal like wildfire. Ethan, betraying her. Her fingers trembled as she rewound the clip for the third time. The video showed Ethan making a deal, handing over a contract, shaking hands with someone in the shadows, whispering words that sounded like betrayal. But something about it felt off. She knew Ethan better than anyone. She refused to believe he could betray her like this. Her phone rang, piercing the silence. It was Ethan. "Don't answer," Leah warned from the kitchen, arms crossed as she watched Maya's hesitation. Maya took a deep breath, steeling herself. "I have to." She swiped to answer. "Hey," Ethan's voice was low but strained. "Ethan," Maya whispered. "What is this?" "I swear, Maya, it's a setup. That video, it's doctored." "Then explain it to me. Because right now, it looks like you sold me out." Ethan's sigh was heavy. "I'll come over. We need to talk." 30 minutes later, Ethan was pacing in her living room, the tension between them palpable. "I know how it looks," he began, running a hand through his hair. "But that deal was staged. It was a sting operation to catch Sophie's real accomplices. I couldn't risk telling anyone, not even you, because Sophie watches everything." Maya's eyes narrowed. "So you let me be the fall guy?" "No." Ethan stepped closer, desperation in his gaze. "I protected you by keeping you in the dark. If I'd told you, Sophie might have used you as leverage. I was trying to outsmart her." Maya shook her head, the hurt and betrayal twisting inside her. "You didn't trust me." "Not in that moment. But I do now. I'm sorry." She looked away, emotions battling inside. "It's not just about trust, Ethan. It's about respect. About being honest." He reached for her hand. "I want to fix this. Together." Their fragile truce was interrupted by a sharp knock at the door. Maya's heart jumped. "Who is it?" Ethan asked cautiously. Before she could answer, Derek stepped inside, eyes serious. "We've got a problem," Derek said, dropping a folder on the table. Maya and Ethan exchanged a glance, bracing themselves. Derek opened the folder, revealing photos and documents tying Sophie's network to a high-profile corruption ring, one that reached deep into the city's elite. "This isn't just personal anymore," Derek said grimly. "Sophie's playing a dangerous game with powerful people." Maya's throat tightened. "What do? "We take the evidence to the authorities," Ethan said firmly. "It's the only way to stop her." That night, Maya lay awake, Ethan's words echoing in her mind. The stakes were higher than ever, and their alliance had become more real, more complicated. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. "Tomorrow is the day. We end this," she replied, "together." The next morning, Maya and Ethan arrived at the police station, armed with the evidence. The tension was unbearable as they handed the files to the detective, hoping justice would finally be served. Outside, Sophie's shadow lingered, but Maya felt a flicker of hope. The war was far from over, but now, they had a chance. As they left the station, Ethan took Maya's hand. "Whatever happens," he said, voice steady, "I'm not letting go." Maya squeezed his hand, a small smile breaking through. "Neither am I." Chapter 9. The morning sun was muted behind thick clouds as Maya pulled into the parking lot of the downtown courthouse. Her hands trembled slightly on the steering wheel, a mix of nerves and anticipation coiling in her stomach. Today wasn't just another day, it was the start of the legal battle that could make or break everything. Ethan was already waiting by the entrance when she stepped out of the car, his face drawn but determined. He gave her a small nod, the unspoken promise of solidarity passing between them. "Ready?" he asked, voice low but steady. Maya nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." Together, they walked through the heavy doors into the buzz of cameras, reporters, and flashing lights. The media circus was impossible to ignore, with Sophie's camp having leaked half-truths and rumors designed to discredit them before the trial even began. A group of reporters swarmed them. "Mr. Carter, Miss Reed, any comments on the allegations?" Maya shot a sharp look at Ethan, who took a deep breath. "We stand by the truth," Ethan said firmly. "And we trust the justice system will prevail." Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. The prosecutor was a formidable woman named Rachel Kim, known for her tenacity and sharp mind. Sitting across was Sophie's high-powered defense attorney, a man with a reputation for bending the truth with ease. Maya sat beside Ethan, their hands brushing briefly, grounding each other as the trial began. The prosecutor laid out the charges against Sophie: fraud, extortion, and a slew of other crimes tied to the corruption ring Derek had uncovered. Sophie sat with a smug expression, eyes flicking toward Maya whenever she spoke. When it was Sophie's turn, she launched into a fiery defense. "You think I'm the villain?" Sophie sneered, voice dripping with venom. "Look closer. The real betrayal is here." She pointed at Ethan. He used Miss Reed to cover his tracks. This entire charade was a setup. Maya felt her heart race, but Ethan's steady grip reminded her to stay strong. During the break, Maya and Ethan slipped into a quiet corner. "Did you expect this?" Maya asked, voice low. Ethan nodded. "She's playing dirty. But we have the evidence." Maya glanced down. "Sometimes I wonder if this is worth it." Ethan looked at her, sincerity in his eyes. "I know it's hard, but I'm not giving up on us. Or the truth." They shared a long look, the walls they'd built around their feelings cracking. Back in court, the defense called surprise witnesses, trying to undermine Derek's credibility. Maya's heart pounded when Derek took the stand, facing aggressive questioning. But he held firm, presenting documents and screenshots that linked Sophie to key players in the corruption scheme. The courtroom murmured. Outside, Sophie paced, furious, her control slipping. In a bold move, she sent Maya a message. "You'll regret this. Watch your back." Maya's phone buzzed with Leah's reply. "We've got your back. Stay safe." That evening, Ethan invited Maya to his penthouse for a quiet dinner, a brief reprieve from the chaos. They cooked together, the familiar rhythm soothing. Between bites, Ethan said, "I hate that this brought us back together like this." Maya smiled tiredly. "Me too. But maybe it's what we needed." Their eyes met, and this time, no walls, no hesitation. He reached for her hand. "Maya, I want to try, really try. No games." She nodded, a tear slipping down. "Me too." As they embraced, Maya's phone buzzed again. Another threat. But this time, she felt different, stronger. With Ethan by her side, she knew they could face anything. Chapter 10. The courtroom was packed. Cameras lined the back walls, and murmurs filled the air like a restless tide. Maya sat beside Ethan, hands clenched tightly in her lap. Today, the trial would reach a crucial turning point, the presentation of the smoking gun evidence that could finally bring Sophie down. The prosecutor stood, clearing her throat. "Your Honor, at this time, we'd like to submit Exhibit A. The financial records showing the money trail linking Sophie Harper to multiple offshore accounts used to launder funds from the corruption ring." Sophie's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. Maya held her breath as the judge reviewed the documents. "Exhibit admitted," he declared. Ethan leaned toward Maya, whispering, "We're getting closer." The defense attorney countered aggressively. "This evidence was obtained illegally. My client had no knowledge of these accounts." Prosecutor Kim shot back. "The evidence was gathered through authorized channels. We have witnesses to confirm." Maya's heart pounded as the tension in the room thickened. Later, Maya was called to the stand. Her nerves screamed as she walked up, the judge's eyes boring into her. She took a deep breath and faced the courtroom. "Miss Reed," the defense attorney began, voice dripping with sarcasm, "would you say your relationship with Mr. Carter was complicated?" Maya swallowed. "Yes." "Would you say you were involved in his business affairs?" "No." The attorney smiled cruelly. "Yet here you are, testifying about corporate matters. How do you explain that?" Maya met his gaze steadily. "Because what Sophie and her allies did wasn't just about business. It was personal. They tried to destroy Ethan, and me." A murmur ran through the crowd. As Maya stepped down, Ethan's eyes caught hers, filled with pride and something more tender. The day dragged on with testimonies and cross-examinations. Finally, the last witness, Derek, was called. He detailed how he uncovered Sophie's network, exposing the lies and manipulation. The courtroom was silent as he presented the final piece, a recording of Sophie plotting the entire scheme. Sophie's confident facade shattered. She was called to the stand, visibly shaken. "Why?" Maya asked quietly when Ethan looked at her. "Because the truth always comes out," Ethan said. When Sophie's testimony ended, the judge called a recess. Outside the courtroom, Maya's phone buzzed again, another threat. This time, the message was different. "Give up, or the ones you love pay the price." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but Ethan pulled her into a fierce embrace. "We don't give up," he whispered. That night, at Ethan's penthouse, the weight of the day hung heavy between them. Ethan poured 2 glasses of wine, handing one to Maya. "To us," he said softly. "To us," she echoed. They clinked glasses, the tension melting into something fragile and hopeful. Their conversation drifted to what had been lost, and what might still be gained. Ethan's hand found hers across the table. "Maya, I'm sorry for all the lies. For not trusting you." She squeezed his hand. "We both made mistakes. But I want to move forward, together." The hours passed with laughter, tears, and promises. Later, as they lay tangled in each other's arms, Maya whispered, "I never stopped loving you." Ethan smiled against her hair. "Neither did I." The fight wasn't over, but for the first time in months, Maya felt something beyond fear and anger. She felt hope. Chapter 11. The sun was setting in a wash of pinks and purples when Maya finally stepped out of the courthouse. Her legs felt like jelly, hours of testimony, cross-examinations, and the emotional roller coaster had drained her completely. Ethan was waiting by the steps, his expression unreadable as he scanned the crowd before settling his eyes on her. "How do you feel?" he asked softly, offering his hand. Maya took it gratefully. "Exhausted, but hopeful." He gave a small smile. "That's good. We need to hold on to that." The next few days passed in a blur of meetings, media statements, and strategizing. Sophie's threats had only escalated, cryptic messages, shadowy figures lurking near Maya's apartment, even a break-in attempt that left Leah shaken. Maya kept her guard up, leaning on Ethan and their small circle of allies. One evening, they gathered at Ethan's penthouse, trying to find a moment of normalcy amid the chaos. Leah poured wine into glasses while Derek reviewed some new evidence on his laptop. "I think we've got something," Derek said suddenly, eyes alight. "A connection between Sophie's associates and a major political figure. This could blow the case wide open." Maya felt a surge of adrenaline. "Then why isn't it public yet?" Derek shook his head. "We have to be careful. This isn't just about Sophie anymore. It's bigger." Later, Maya found herself alone with Ethan on the balcony, the city lights twinkling beneath them. "Do you ever think about what happens after this?" she asked quietly. Ethan looked out over the skyline. "Sometimes. I want a future where we're not running from ghosts." Maya smiled wistfully. "Me too." He turned to her, eyes searching. "Maya, I know I've hurt you. But I want to make it right. Not just with words." Her heart fluttered. "I want that too." Their lips met in a tentative kiss, slow and searching. But peace was short-lived. The next morning, Maya received a call from an unknown number. "Meet me at the old warehouse. Alone. Or the next threat won't be a message." Her breath caught. She glanced at Ethan, who was already dialing Leah. That night, Maya arrived at the warehouse, shadows stretching long and ominous. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside, the silence deafening. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness. "Sophie," Maya whispered, anger and fear clashing. Sophie smiled coldly. "You think this is over? It's only just beginning." Before Maya could react, footsteps echoed behind Sophie. Ethan and Derek burst in, guns drawn. "Step away," Ethan commanded. Sophie's smile faltered, but she raised her hands in mock surrender. In the tense standoff, Sophie sneered, "You'll never win." Ethan's voice was calm but firm. "Watch us." Back at the penthouse, Maya sat wrapped in a blanket, the adrenaline fading. Ethan joined her, pulling her close. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we face it together." Maya nodded, the fire in her chest rekindled. "We fight. For us." Chapter 12. The next morning dawned gray and heavy, rain tapping relentlessly against the windows of Ethan's penthouse. Maya sat by the window, clutching a mug of coffee, her mind a tangled mess of thoughts and fears. The warehouse incident last night had shaken her more than she let on. Sophie's words echoed in her ears. "It's only just beginning." The threat wasn't empty, and they both knew it. Ethan entered quietly, setting down a stack of newspapers and a tablet loaded with security footage. His face was grave, but determined. "We've got to tighten security," he said. "Sophie's not going to back down, and neither are we." Maya nodded, her gaze never leaving the window. "I just hate that this mess dragged us back into each other like this." Ethan sat beside her, gently brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Sometimes the worst chaos leads to the strongest bonds. She smiled faintly but turned away. It's complicated. The doorbell rang, startling them both. Ethan got up to answer. Leah stepped in, soaked from the rain but holding an envelope. I found this slipped under my door, she said, her voice tense. No return address. Ethan took the envelope and opened it carefully. Inside was a single photo, a candid shot of Maya, taken from a distance. Her heart sank. On the back, written in messy black ink, "Stay quiet, or this is just the beginning." Maya's hands shook. How far will she go? Later that afternoon, Derek came by with his laptop, eyes bright despite the looming danger. I traced some of Sophie's contacts, he announced, spreading maps and documents across the table. There's a hidden communication channel she's been using, encrypted, but I've cracked it. Ethan leaned in, eyes narrowing. Any names? Derek nodded. High-profile politicians, businessmen, people who want to keep their dirty secrets buried. Maya's stomach twisted. We're up against more than just Sophie. The three of them sat together, devising a plan to expose the corruption without putting themselves in harm's way. Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. One more step, and you'll regret it. He showed Maya and Derek. We have to be smarter, he said. Less public. Maya took a deep breath. I want to do my part. I'm tired of running. That evening, Maya and Ethan sat in the dim glow of the living room, going over files. Their proximity sparked a quiet tension, unspoken words hanging thick in the air. Ethan looked up, eyes soft. I've been thinking about us. Maya's heart skipped. What about us? He hesitated, then said, I want to rebuild what we lost. Slowly, honestly. She smiled, warmth blossoming. Me too. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden knock. Maya froze. Ethan moved toward the door cautiously. Standing there was a man in a dark coat, a stranger. I'm here to help, he said, voice low. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Who sent you? The man shook his head. I work for someone who wants Sophie exposed. I've been tracking her for months. Maya exchanged a look with Ethan, hope flickering amid the danger. Days passed with new allies joining the fight, each revelation bringing them closer to justice. Maya felt herself changing, stronger, braver, more willing to face the shadows. One night, as rain hammered the city, Ethan held her close. We'll win this, he promised. Together. Maya whispered back, no matter what. Chapter 13. The chill of early morning wrapped around Maya like a cold blanket as she stepped out into the dimly lit street. The city was still mostly asleep, but somewhere beneath the quiet hum, danger pulsed, waiting to strike. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. Be careful today. Meeting at 6. Maya's pulse quickened. The pieces were falling into place, but so were the risks. At the cafe where they agreed to meet, Ethan was already waiting, sipping black coffee, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk. She slid into the seat across from him, the weight of unspoken worries heavy between them. New lead? She asked quietly. Ethan nodded, pulling out a file. Our contact sent info on a secret meeting Sophie's been planning. It's tonight. If we can intercept, we might catch her in the act. Maya leaned in, adrenaline sparking. What kind of meeting? High stakes. The kind that could expose the whole network. Their eyes met. We have to be ready. That evening, the rain hammered the city streets as Maya and Ethan drove toward the warehouse district. The night was dark, the only illumination the intermittent streetlights flickering like distant stars. Their car pulled up near a derelict building, the kind where secrets thrived. They slipped out, moving like shadows toward the entrance. Inside, muffled voices echoed. Maya's heart thudded as they crouched behind crates. Through a gap, she saw Sophie, her posture cold and commanding, surrounded by a circle of suited men. Ethan's voice was a whisper. This is it. They recorded the conversation, Sophie's voice sharp as she discussed plans to bribe officials and silence witnesses. Suddenly, footsteps. A security guard rounded the corner, flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. Maya froze. Ethan grabbed her hand, pulling her deeper into the shadows. The guard's light flicked dangerously close. Heart racing, Maya barely breathed. The guard moved on. When they were safely back in the car, adrenaline still coursing, Maya exhaled shakily. That was too close, she said. Ethan reached over, squeezing her hand. But we got what we needed. The next days were a whirlwind of meetings with their lawyer, who prepared to file new charges based on the recordings. Sophie's desperation grew evident. The threats became more aggressive, attempts to intimidate Maya's friends and family. One evening, Maya's phone buzzed with a video. Sophie holding a photo of Leah. Maya's stomach dropped. She called Leah immediately. Are you okay? Leah's voice was shaky but firm. I'm fine, but this is serious. Determined not to be silenced, Maya and Ethan ramped up their efforts. At a press conference, Ethan faced the flashing cameras. We have proof, he announced. Sophie Harper and her allies will be held accountable. The crowd erupted in questions, but Ethan stood firm. Later, Maya sat alone, scrolling through messages of support from strangers moved by their story. Her phone chimed. Ethan, dinner? I miss us. Maya smiled, typing back. Me too. As they met that night, the distance between them felt smaller, the walls crumbling. They talked long into the night, dreams and fears laid bare. Ethan brushed a stray lock of hair from Maya's face. Whatever happens, he whispered, I'm not losing you again. Maya's eyes glistened. Never. Chapter 14. The rain had finally stopped, but the sky remained heavy with dark clouds, casting a muted gray filter over the city. Maya sat at her kitchen table, the soft hum of the refrigerator and distant sounds of the city providing a quiet background to her swirling thoughts. She stared down at the stack of documents Ethan had left the night before. The files detailed everything they had uncovered so far, the financial trails, the recordings, the testimonies. But buried in the middle was something new. A list of names they hadn't expected. We're dealing with a full-blown conspiracy, she whispered to herself. The doorbell rang, jolting her from the spiral of anxiety. She hesitated for a moment before getting up and opening the door. Standing there was Leah, looking tired but determined. We need to talk. Maya stepped aside, letting her in. The two women sat at the table, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. Leah's voice was low. I got a call this morning. Someone tipped me off about Sophie's next move. Maya's heart quickened. What is it? They're planning to move some of the laundered money through a shell company overseas. If we can intercept the transaction, we might be able to freeze the assets and cut off her funding. Maya nodded slowly, the pieces starting to fit together. Then we have to act fast. Later that afternoon, Maya met Ethan at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of town. The tension between them was palpable but unspoken, a mixture of lingering pain and cautious hope. Ethan reached across the table, his hand brushing hers lightly. We're getting closer, but it's dangerous. Maya squeezed his hand. I know, but I'm not backing down. Not now. They spent hours going over their strategy, planning every detail to avoid Sophie's ever-watchful eyes. That evening, as Maya drove home, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You're playing a dangerous game, Maya. Back off before you lose everything. Her grip tightened on the steering wheel, but her resolve only hardened. She parked and entered her apartment building, eyes scanning for anything out of place. Nothing. But the silence was deafening. The next day, Ethan called with an update. We've got a window. The transfer happens tomorrow night. Maya exhaled sharply. Then we prepare. They agreed to meet Derek and Leah at Ethan's penthouse later that evening to coordinate. That night, the group gathered in the dimly lit room, tension thick in the air. Derek laid out the technical setup, cameras, trackers, secure communication devices. Leah added, we have contacts in customs ready to help if we get the chance to freeze the assets. Maya felt the weight of their combined effort. This is it. No mistakes. Ethan met her eyes, a silent promise passing between them. Under cover of darkness, they moved into position near the docks. The air was thick with fog and the smell of saltwater. Maya's heart pounded as she watched the operation unfold through Derek's monitors. The transfer was about to happen. Suddenly, footsteps approached. A figure appeared. Sophie's henchman. Ethan stepped forward, voice low but firm. This ends tonight. A tense standoff followed before the man backed away, disappearing into the night. The transfer went through, but not without a hitch. Derek's tracker was attached, and the authorities were alerted. The next day, news broke. Several accounts linked to Sophie were frozen, her empire beginning to crumble. Back at the penthouse, Maya and Ethan sat together, exhaustion washing over them. Ethan took her hand, eyes soft. "We did good." Maya smiled, leaning into him. Together. As the night deepened, their conversation turned personal. Ethan hesitated before speaking. "Maya, I've been thinking about the future." She looked up, surprised. "I want us, not just this fight, but a life beyond it. If you'll have me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I want that too." They embraced, a fragile hope blooming between them. Chapter 15. The city was waking up under a sky streaked with the soft gold of dawn. Maya stood on the balcony of Ethan's penthouse, wrapped in a shawl, her breath visible in the crisp morning air. The last few days had been a whirlwind, the arrest of Sophie's key associates, the exposure of the network's corruption, the thin veil of safety that still felt fragile. Ethan joined her silently, handing her a cup of coffee. She accepted it gratefully. "We're not out of the woods yet," he said quietly. Maya nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "But it feels like a beginning." Inside, the penthouse was a mix of chaos and calm, stacks of papers, laptops open to news feeds, and the faint hum of a playlist Ethan had put on to lighten the mood. Leah and Derek were already there, strategizing the next moves. "We've got a lot of pressure coming from Sophie's legal team," Derek reported. "They're trying to delay the trial, intimidate witnesses." Maya clenched her fists. "We need to protect everyone involved." Leah looked over. "I've arranged for extra security for the key witnesses. No surprises." The legal battle was only one front. The media had caught wind of the scandal, and the public was riveted. Maya found herself thrust into the spotlight, the reluctant face of a growing movement against corruption. She was preparing for an interview when Ethan arrived, a rare softness in his eyes. "Are you ready?" he asked. Maya took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." The interview was intense. Reporters pressed her on every detail, every risk. At one point, a particularly aggressive journalist asked, "Do you fear for your safety? After all this, why keep fighting?" Maya looked directly into the camera, voice steady but fierce. "Because silence is complicity. Because change only happens when we stand up. And because I won't let fear control my life." The room broke into applause. Backstage, Ethan wrapped an arm around her. "You were amazing." She smiled, exhaustion and pride mixing. "Couldn't have done it without you." That night, as the city slept, Maya and Ethan sat on the rooftop, a blanket around their shoulders. The stars twinkled overhead, distant, constant. Ethan's voice was soft. "What if this is more than just a case? What if it's a chance to build something new?" Maya leaned against him. "Then I'm ready." The days that followed were a blend of court dates, media appearances, and quiet moments stolen between the chaos. Their relationship, fragile but growing, was a source of strength. One evening, Ethan surprised Maya with a small dinner at home, candles, music, and no distractions. They talked about dreams long buried, hopes for the future. "I want to travel," Maya confessed. "See places I never thought I would." Ethan smiled. "I want to be there with you." But even as they built a tentative future, shadows lingered. A late-night call from Derek brought urgent news. Sophie had made a new move, attempting to discredit Maya by planting false evidence. The fight wasn't over. Maya squared her shoulders. "Then we fight smarter." Chapter 16. The chill of early morning crept through the slightly cracked window, bringing with it a dampness that seeped into the bones. Maya lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with the weight of everything that had happened, and what was still to come. The fight against Sophie wasn't just a battle for justice anymore. It was a war of endurance, trust, and survival. Her phone buzzed softly on the bedside table. Ethan's name lit up the screen. She hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Morning." Ethan's voice was low but steady, a quiet anchor in the storm. "Morning," Maya replied, a small smile tugging at her lips despite the tension. "We've got a meeting with the legal team in an hour," he said. "They've found something that could change everything." Maya swung her legs over the side of the bed, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. "I'll be ready." The law firm's office was tucked away on the 15th floor of a sleek glass building downtown, a sharp contrast to the grime and grit of the city streets below. Maya and Ethan entered together, their footsteps echoing in the marble lobby. Inside the conference room, the team was already gathered, their lawyer, an assistant, Derek, and Leah. The air was thick with anticipation. We've uncovered communications that link Sophie directly to a series of illegal offshore accounts, the lawyer announced, sliding a thick folder across the table. This isn't just about her anymore. It's a network of people laundering money through multiple countries. Maya felt the room shift, the gravity of the revelation settling in. Ethan leaned forward. Can this evidence hold up in court? Yes, the lawyer replied confidently. But it's fragile. We have to move fast before they catch wind. Leah tapped her fingers on the table. I can coordinate with international contacts to verify and secure the documents. After the meeting, Maya and Ethan walked through the bustling streets, the noise and chaos a stark contrast to the tension that clung to them. Feels like we're chasing ghosts, Maya said quietly. Ethan glanced at her, eyes softening. Maybe, but ghosts can't run forever. She smiled, the warmth between them growing in these small moments of hope. Back at Ethan's penthouse, Maya sat by the window watching the city lights flicker to life as dusk settled. Ethan joined her, carrying 2 glasses of wine. To the fight ahead, he toasted. To us, she replied, clinking her glass against his. They talked late into the night, sharing dreams and fears, their walls slowly crumbling. Suddenly, the phone rang, shattering the quiet. Derek's voice was urgent on the other end. We've got a problem. Sophie's hired private investigators. They're digging into Maya's past, trying to find dirt. Maya's heart sank. What do they want to find? Derek sighed. Anything to discredit you. They're desperate. Ethan's jaw tightened. We'll protect you, no matter what. In the following days, Maya noticed subtle changes. Unfamiliar faces at her favorite cafe, strange calls with silence on the other end. She confided in Ethan, her voice trembling. I feel like I'm being watched. He pulled her into a hug. You're not alone. One evening, while reviewing documents, Maya stumbled upon an old photo tucked inside one of Sophie's files. A picture of her and Ethan, smiling on a day they thought was just a memory. Her phone buzzed with a message from Sophie. You can't hide forever. Maya's fingers tightened around the photo, but her eyes burned with determination. The battle lines were drawn, but Maya and Ethan stood stronger together, ready to face whatever came next. Chapter 17. The city streets buzzed with a restless energy that seemed to seep into Maya's bones. The weight of Sophie's threats hung over her like a shadow, growing heavier with each passing day. Yet, beneath that pressure, a fierce determination blazed, unyielding and fierce. Maya arrived early at Ethan's penthouse, the glass tower gleaming coldly against the fading light. The door swung open before she could knock, Ethan's familiar smile greeting her like a bomb. Morning, he said, stepping aside to let her in. She smiled back, grateful for the small warmth in a world that often felt so cold. Inside, the penthouse was a controlled chaos of laptops, papers, and phones ringing in rapid succession. Derek was already at work, fingers flying over the keyboard, while Leah coordinated through her headset. Ethan pulled Maya into the center of the room. We've got a plan, he said, voice low but steady. Maya listened as Ethan laid out the details. We're going to expose Sophie's network publicly. Not just in court, but through every channel possible. Social media, press releases, leaks. Leah nodded. We've got allies in the media ready to run the story. The public's on our side. Maya felt a thrill of hope. But what about the backlash? Sophie won't go down quietly. Ethan's eyes darkened. We'll be ready. The team split up to execute the plan. Maya found herself at a small studio, preparing for a live interview that would air that evening. The producer handed her a list of questions, but what mattered most was the chance to tell the truth, raw and unfiltered. As the cameras rolled, Maya spoke with a steady voice, recounting the journey that had brought her here, the betrayal, the fight, and the hope. After the interview, she felt exposed but liberated. Back at the penthouse, Ethan waited, the room dim except for the glow of city lights. You were incredible, he said, pulling her into a hug. Maya rested her head against his chest. I couldn't have done it without you. But the victory was short-lived. The following morning, Maya woke to a barrage of messages. Some supportive, others cruel and threatening. Her phone rang incessantly, anonymous callers demanding she back off. Leah was at her side within the hour. We need to tighten security. This is Sophie's last stand. Maya nodded, swallowing the fear. I won't let her win. That night, Maya and Ethan sat on the rooftop. The city sprawled beneath them like a sea of lights. Ethan's voice was soft. No matter what happens, I'm here. We'll get through this. Maya looked up, the stars blinking down at them. Together. The days ahead would test every ounce of their strength. But in the face of danger, their bond only grew stronger, a fire that refused to be extinguished. Chapter 18. The city's restless hum settled into a low murmur as night crept over the skyline. Maya sat by the window of Ethan's penthouse, the cool glass pressing against her palms as she stared out at the sea of lights. Every flicker seemed to echo the turmoil in her mind. Sophie's threats weren't just words anymore, they were a looming storm. Ethan's footsteps approached softly behind her. He leaned on the frame, his gaze tracing the contours of her face. You're thinking too much. Maya turned, meeting his steady eyes. Can you blame me? Every move we make feels like walking on a knife's edge. He smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. That's why you have me. She nodded, leaning into him. I don't want to lose control. The phone vibrated, slicing through the quiet. Ethan's face darkened as he read the message. Last warning. Stop this or else. He threw the phone onto the table. They're escalating. Maya's jaw tightened. Then we escalate too. That night, the team gathered in the war room. A converted study lit by the glow of multiple screens. Derek was hacking into surveillance feeds, Leah coordinating with security, and Ethan and Maya pored over plans. We've identified suspicious activity near your apartment, Derek said, eyes scanning the monitors. Possible surveillance. Maya's breath caught. I need to know who's watching. Leah tapped into the city's traffic cams. There. Black SUV, circling every hour. Ethan's voice was cold. We'll tail them. The following evening, Maya and Ethan drove through shadowed streets, trailing the SUV at a cautious distance. The car finally stopped outside a rundown warehouse. Two figures stepped out, familiar silhouettes that made Maya's blood run cold. Sophie's men, Ethan whispered. Maya's heart pounded. What are they planning? Before Ethan could respond, the SUV sped off into the night. Back at the penthouse, Maya's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. A video clip showing her apartment building, and a shadow moving inside. She shivered. They're inside. Ethan grabbed his jacket. We need to secure your place. The next hours blurred into a frenzy of installing new locks, cameras, and hiring discreet security. Despite the precautions, the sense of vulnerability lingered. One night, while lying awake, Maya heard a faint noise, a whisper against the window. She froze, heart racing, before Ethan's calm voice soothed her. Nothing's getting past us. Days later, a breakthrough arrived. Leah intercepted communications hinting that Sophie was planning a major public smear campaign. Maya clenched her fists. We need to get ahead of this. Ethan nodded. Time to strike back. Together, they drafted a plan to release incriminating evidence against Sophie's allies, turning the tables. The tension built as they worked in silence, the weight of every decision pressing down. Late one evening, as Maya uploaded the files to a secure server, the power flickered. The screen went dark. A deliberate blackout. Ethan swore under his breath. They're cutting everything off. Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard, trying to bypass the shutdown. Minutes later, power surged back. The upload was complete. Relief washed over them, but only for a moment. Because Sophie's empire was fighting back harder than ever. And the war had only just begun. Chapter 19. The sharp click of the door echoed ominously in the dimly lit room. Sophie stepped inside, her heels clicking against the marble floor as she surveyed the scene before her. Around her, her closest confidants awaited, faces tense but loyal. She dropped her coat onto a nearby chair and leaned forward, her voice slicing through the silence. They think they can take me down. That Maya and Ethan can dismantle everything I've built. One of her lieutenants, a tall man with a hawkish face named Marcus, exchanged a glance with another, Lena, Sophie's trusted strategist. They're pushing hard. The leaks, the media attention, it's hurting us. Sophie smiled, cold and calculating. Good. Let them feel the pressure. But it's time we stop reacting and start taking control again. The room grew charged with energy as plans unfurled on the screen, maps, timelines, names highlighted in red. Sophie's network was vast, but cracks were appearing, and she refused to let them widen. Lena tapped her tablet. The smear campaign is ready. We have videos, edited to paint Maya as unstable, reckless. We launch it tomorrow. Marcus frowned. But what about Ethan? He's more than just an obstacle. If they grow closer. Sophie's eyes gleamed with a predator's focus. We use that. We turn their relationship into their weakness. They think love will save them? Let's prove it's a liability. Meanwhile, miles away, Maya and Ethan were locked in their own battle, unaware of the storm brewing on Sophie's side. Maya stared at her laptop screen, exhaustion shadowing her face. It's not just about exposing Sophie anymore, she whispered. It's about protecting everyone caught in this. Ethan nodded, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. We have to be smarter. Anticipate her moves before they happen. The days that followed were a blur of tension. Public support for Maya surged as the media painted Sophie's network in a harsher light. Yet beneath the surface, Sophie's forces worked meticulously, spreading disinformation, hacking accounts, and turning allies into foes. One afternoon, Maya received a call from an old friend, her voice shaky. I don't know who to trust anymore, the friend confessed. There's things being said. Things I don't think are true. Maya swallowed hard. Ignore the noise. I'm fighting this too. At the penthouse, Ethan and Maya convened with Leah and Derek, strategizing how to combat the smear campaign. We need transparency, Leah insisted. Show the truth before they twist it. Derek was already crafting a counter-narrative, gathering real testimonials and evidence to flood social media. Maya's determination hardened. They want to break us. But we're stronger together. Late that night, a knock rattled the door. Maya opened it cautiously to find a young woman, eyes wide and desperate. I have information, she said breathlessly. About Sophie. About the people she's protecting. Ethan stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Come in. Tell us everything. The woman revealed details of bribes, threats, and hidden alliances that painted an even darker picture of Sophie's empire. Maya listened intently, realizing the war wasn't just about her or Ethan. It was a fight against a system built on fear and corruption. As dawn broke, Maya and Ethan knew the next moves would be decisive. They prepared to take their fight public in a way that couldn't be ignored. Sophie, meanwhile, watched from her fortress, plotting her final gambit. The game was far from over. Chapter 20. The night was thick with tension, the kind that makes every shadow feel like a threat and every silence scream with anticipation. Maya sat on the edge of Ethan's sofa, fingers wrapped tightly around a mug of lukewarm tea. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of the city skyline beyond the window. Ethan was pacing, restless and sharp-eyed, every few minutes glancing toward the locked door as if expecting it to burst open at any moment. We're running out of time, he muttered, voice tight. Sophie's about to pull her biggest move yet. Maya's eyes flicked toward the laptop open on the coffee table, where their latest strategy documents lay scattered. We've exposed so much already. How can she possibly come back from this? Ethan stopped pacing and looked at her, the lines of worry etched deep on his face. She's desperate. Desperation makes people dangerous. Their plan was bold, an all-out media blitz exposing Sophie's corruption and criminal ties, timed to coincide with the release of the new evidence they had secured. It was designed to strip Sophie of every last shred of power. But if Sophie got wind of it early, she could sabotage everything. That's why they were hiding out, keeping communication tight and movements unpredictable. The phone buzzed. Maya jumped, heart pounding. She glanced at the screen, a message from an unknown number. You're running out of friends. Ethan snatched the phone. Threats, he growled. They're trying to intimidate us. Maya met his gaze, unyielding. They won't scare me. Hours later, Leah and Derek burst through the door, breathless. We have a problem, Leah said, dropping a tablet on the table. Sophie's team just leaked a doctored video online. It's already trending. The screen showed Maya, taken out of context, laughing during a vulnerable moment, twisted to look callous and heartless. Maya felt a cold rage boil inside. They're trying to ruin everything. Ethan slammed his fist on the table. We need a counterstrike, now. They worked feverishly, Derek and Leah creating a live response stream, exposing the manipulation and laying bare Sophie's tactics. Maya prepared to speak directly to their supporters, her voice steady but fierce as cameras rolled. "I won't let lies define me," she said. "We are fighting for truth, justice, and everyone who's been silenced." The response was electric. Social media exploded with messages of support, hashtags trending worldwide. But amid the flood of encouragement were darker currents, threats, hacking attempts, and veiled warnings. Late that night, as the city slept, Ethan and Maya reviewed security footage. A figure lurked near their building, watching, waiting. "We're not just fighting Sophie," Ethan said quietly. "We're fighting her entire world." Maya nodded, gripping his hand. "Then we fight harder." Suddenly, the power flickered and went out. The room plunged into darkness. "Backup generators," Derek's voice crackled over the comms. "Failing." Maya's breath hitched. "They're trying to isolate us." In the blackout, a cold fear settled, but Ethan moved to light candles, the small flames flickering defiantly. "Darkness can't hide the truth," he said, eyes blazing. Maya smiled, heart pounding with renewed strength. Dawn broke, bringing with it a fragile sense of hope. They had survived the night, and the battle was far from over. But together, they were unbreakable. Chapter 22. The early morning air was crisp, biting through Maya's thin jacket as she stood outside the penthouse, staring up at the skyline bathed in soft pink hues. Sleep had been elusive, her mind spinning with fragments of the encrypted files they'd uncovered the night before. The weight of Sophie's corruption pressed down on her, but beneath it all, a stubborn flicker of determination burned brighter. Ethan joined her on the balcony, coffee in hand, his expression worn but resolute. "Any closer to making sense of it all?" he asked gently. Maya shrugged, running a hand through her hair. "It's a tangled web. The files expose so much, money trails, blackmail, even a few politicians tied up in it. But deciphering it all, it's going to take time." Ethan leaned against the railing beside her. "We don't have much time." She nodded. "The court date's coming, and Sophie's not going down without a fight." Inside, Leah and Derek were already at work, the room filled with the hum of computers and low conversation. Derek was hunched over his keyboard, eyes flicking rapidly across multiple screens as he decrypted another batch of files. Leah glanced up as Maya entered. "We're close, but Sophie's lawyers are powerful. We need to make our case airtight." Maya exhaled sharply. "We also need witnesses. People who can testify, who've been brave enough to step forward." The next call came from Daniel, a quiet urgency in his voice. "There's someone you should meet. Someone who was on the inside, saw everything." Maya exchanged a look with Ethan. "Set it up." The meeting was arranged at a small cafe tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. Maya arrived first, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with nervous anticipation. Moments later, a woman approached, mid-30s, eyes sharp and guarded. "Claire," Daniel introduced quietly as she sat down. She worked for Sophie's PR firm. Claire nodded, fingers twisting nervously around her cup. "I saw things I shouldn't have. Lies, cover-ups, and threats to anyone who dared speak out." Maya leaned forward. "We need your help to bring this down." Claire's story unfolded in painful detail: hush money, manipulated narratives, even attempts to discredit Maya personally. "But I can't do this alone," Claire admitted. "Sophie's reach is long." Ethan's voice was firm. "You won't be alone. We're in this together." Over the next days, Claire became an invaluable ally, providing insider information that tied many loose ends. The team's confidence grew, but so did the danger. One evening, as Maya walked home alone, a shadowy figure emerged from an alley, blocking her path. "Going somewhere, Maya?" a familiar voice sneered. "Sophie." Heart-hammering, Maya kept her composure. "What do you want?" "To remind you who's really in control," Sophie said, stepping closer, eyes cold as steel. Before Maya could respond, footsteps echoed behind them. Ethan appeared, his presence a shield. "Leave her alone, Sophie." Sophie's laugh was bitter. "You think you've won? This is just the beginning." Back inside, the tension was palpable. Maya and Ethan sat side by side, hands clasped tightly. "We're getting closer," Ethan said. "And she knows it." Maya nodded. "We have to stay one step ahead." The following day, the team prepared for a press conference, a public unveiling of the evidence, a direct challenge to Sophie's empire. Leah ran through the logistics. The world will be watching. We need to be flawless. As cameras flashed and microphones were positioned, Maya's heart raced. This was their moment, the culmination of months of struggle, fear, and hope. Taking the stage, Maya looked out at the sea of faces, the glare of spotlights blurring everything except Ethan's reassuring smile in the front row. Clearing her throat, she began, "Today, we stand not just for ourselves, but for every person silenced by corruption and lies." Her voice was steady, unwavering. Piece by piece, she revealed the truth, the web Sophie had spun, the victims it ensnared, the fight to reclaim justice. The crowd erupted in applause. The headlines the next day screamed with revelations. But in the shadows, Sophie's fury boiled. That night, Maya received an anonymous package, a single, ominous note inside. "You've made powerful enemies." Her fingers trembled as she read the words. Ethan pulled her close. "No matter what, we face it together." Maya closed her eyes, a quiet vow settling deep within her. The fight was far from over, but they were ready. Chapter 23. The city pulsed with restless energy, neon lights flickering against the rain-slicked streets as Maya and Ethan made their way to a discreet safe house Leah had secured. The recent public exposure of Sophie's network had rocked the establishment, but it also painted a target on their backs. The rain was steady, a rhythmic patter against the car windows. Maya's fingers traced absent-minded circles on her jeans, heart still racing from the adrenaline of the press conference. "You okay?" Ethan asked softly, breaking the silence. Maya forced a small smile. "I am now. But Sophie's going to strike back harder." Leah met them at the door, her face grave. "We've intercepted chatter. Sophie's hired some heavy hitters. Professional operatives." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Mercenaries?" Leah nodded. "Exactly. And they're closing in." Maya swallowed, the stakes suddenly sharper. This was no longer just a legal battle, it was war. Inside the safe house, Derek was already setting up encrypted comms. "We'll need to keep our movements off the grid. These guys don't play by the rules." Maya paced the room, mind racing through possibilities. "We can't just wait for them to make a move. We have to be proactive." Ethan stepped beside her. "Agreed. But we need to know who exactly we're dealing with." That night, Maya sat alone on the rooftop, city lights flickering below like distant stars. Her thoughts drifted to Sophie, cold, calculating, and relentless. A sudden buzz startled her. A secure message from Daniel appeared on her phone. "Meeting at the docks. Midnight. Possible intel drop." Maya stared at the message, uncertainty twisting inside her. Was it a trap? Or a chance to turn the tide? She texted back, "I'm in." At the docks, shadows danced between towering shipping containers. Daniel waited, his face tense but determined. "We don't have much time," he whispered. "Sophie's operatives are watching. The intel is vital. Location of their base of operations." Maya's heart pounded. "Lead the way." Navigating the maze of crates and shadows, they reached a hidden door marked only by a faded symbol. Inside, a room hummed with screens and maps. Daniel pointed to a detailed schematic. "Here, this is where they're holed up, an old warehouse on the outskirts." Ethan's voice crackled over the comms, his tone grim. "We need to move fast. If we hit them here, we cut off their control." Back at the safe house, plans were drawn with precision. Maya's pulse quickened as she went over every detail: exit routes, timing, contingencies. Leah pulled her aside. "You're going in with Ethan?" Maya nodded. "We have to. We're the ones Sophie wants to silence most." The night of the raid arrived with a tense silence. Dressed in tactical gear, Maya and Ethan slipped through the shadows, hearts hammering in unison. As they breached the warehouse, the sound of shouted commands and gunfire erupted. Maya ducked behind a crate, adrenaline surging. Ethan covered her, his sharp eyes scanning. They pushed deeper, uncovering servers, weapons caches, and piles of documents. The room smelled of dust, sweat, and danger. Suddenly, footsteps approached. Maya held her breath as Sophie herself appeared, flanked by guards. Well, Sophie sneered. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" Ethan stepped forward. "This ends tonight. A fierce standoff ensued, words laced with years of betrayal and pain. But before Sophie could act, sirens wailed, backup had arrived. In the chaos, Maya grabbed the files, her hands trembling but determined. They retreated just as the police stormed in. Outside, rain washed away the grime and blood, mingling with relief. Ethan looked at Maya, breathless. "We did it." Maya smiled, exhaustion and triumph mingling. "This is just the beginning. But it's a start." As they watched Sophie being led away in handcuffs, Maya knew the fight for justice was far from over. But now, they had the truth, and the power to use it. Chapter 24. The courtroom was packed, a buzz of anticipation filling the air like static before a storm. Maya sat at the prosecution table, her fingers nervously tapping against the wood. Ethan was beside her, calm and steady as ever, his presence a quiet anchor. The months of investigation, the secret meetings, the risks, it all came down to this moment. The judge entered, and a hush fell. Cameras flashed from the press gallery, capturing every detail. Sophie sat across the room, impeccably dressed, but the icy mask on her face betrayed nothing. Yet, Maya could see the flicker of unease behind those eyes. The prosecution opened with a compelling narrative, laying out the web of lies, corruption, and manipulation Sophie had spun. Each piece of evidence, documents, witness testimonies, and digital trails, painted a damning portrait. Maya's heart thudded as Claire took the stand, her voice steady despite the courtroom's weight. "I saw how Sophie orchestrated cover-ups, silenced dissenters, and twisted the truth to serve her agenda. Sophie's lawyer tried to undermine her, but the damage was done." Between sessions, Maya found herself outside the courtroom, catching her breath. Ethan joined her, handing over a bottle of water. "You're doing great," he said softly. Maya gave a tired smile. "Feels like I'm walking a tightrope." Ethan's hand brushed hers. "We've got each other. That's what counts." The defense fired back with fierce arguments, attempting to discredit witnesses and paint Sophie as a scapegoat. But the team was prepared. Derek and Leah had uncovered financial transactions and communication logs that linked Sophie directly to illegal activities. Days turned into weeks. The courtroom drama was relentless, every day a battle of wits and will. Maya's exhaustion was real, but so was her resolve. One afternoon, as she reviewed case files, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're making powerful enemies. Be careful." A shiver ran down her spine, but Maya refused to show fear. That night, a knock echoed through her apartment. Maya opened the door to find Daniel standing there, urgency written across his face. "We've intercepted plans for an attack," he said breathless. "Sophie's supporters aren't giving up." Ethan appeared behind Maya, frowning. "We need to ramp up security. No more risks." Days later, Maya sat before the judge, ready to deliver the closing statement. The room was tense, every eye on her. She spoke with clarity and passion, reminding the court of the stakes, justice, truth, and the courage to stand up against corruption. As she finished, a heavy silence hung before the judge began to speak. The verdict was a thunderclap in the room. Guilty on all counts. Sophie's face paled, the realization crashing over her like a tidal wave. Maya exhaled deeply, relief flooding her. Ethan squeezed her hand. "We did it." Outside, the press swarmed, flashing lights and shouted questions. Maya took a moment to look up at the sky, the weight of the journey lifting. She knew this was just the start of healing, for her, for the victims, and for the city. Later, alone in her apartment, Maya allowed herself to feel the exhaustion and triumph mingled. Her phone chimed. A message from Ethan. "Dinner? Celebrate the victory?" She smiled, typing back. "Absolutely." As Maya closed her eyes that night, a quiet peace settled. The battle had been fierce, but justice had prevailed. And somewhere deep inside, a new chapter was beginning. Chapter 25. The morning sunlight filtered softly through the curtains of Maya's apartment, casting a warm glow over the scattered case files still strewn across the living room floor. The city outside was waking up, indifferent to the quiet victory inside these walls. But Maya felt different, transformed, almost unrecognizable to herself. Ethan sat at the small kitchen table, sipping coffee, his gaze occasionally drifting to Maya as she packed away files. her hands moving automatically but her mind far away. You know, Ethan said after a pause, this feels like the first real day of the rest of our lives. Maya looked up, a faint smile playing at her lips. Yeah, like we finally cleared the storm. He set down his mug, standing to pour her a fresh cup. So, what now? After all this, what do you want? Maya hesitated. It was a question she hadn't dared ask herself until now. What did she want? After the fight, the betrayal, the chaos? She stepped to the window, looking out over the city skyline, the hum of life rising below. I want peace, she said softly. But more than that, I want to rebuild my career, my life, and maybe, even, us. Ethan's eyes searched hers, surprise flickering briefly before settling into something warmer, hopeful. They spent the day together, walking through the familiar streets where their story had begun, retracing steps with a new perspective. The cafe where they'd first met, the park bench where they'd argued and laughed, the library where Maya had spent endless hours buried in research. As they strolled, Ethan's voice broke the comfortable silence. I never stopped thinking about you during all this. Even when it felt like you were slipping away. Maya laughed, a light, genuine sound that surprised even herself. You mean when I was furious with you for disappearing without a word? That too. Ethan smiled ruefully. But also when I saw how much you fought, how strong you are. Maya stopped walking, turning to face him. And what about you? What did you fight for? For us, he said simply. I realized some things can't be fixed with distance or silence. Sometimes, you have to face the hard stuff head on. Their conversation deepened, peeling back layers of pain, regret, and hope. The barriers they'd built crumbled piece by piece, replaced by a fragile but growing trust. That evening, Ethan invited Maya to dinner at his apartment, a quiet, intimate setting far removed from the chaos they'd endured. He'd cooked, something Maya never expected from the usually work-obsessed man. Sitting across from each other, plates between them, the atmosphere was tender, the unspoken words hanging heavy. Finally, Maya reached across the table, her fingers brushing Ethan's. I don't know what comes next, but I want to try. Ethan's smile was slow but certain. Me too. The days that followed were a gentle rebuilding, a dance of rediscovery. Late-night talks, stolen moments between work, and laughter that felt like healing. Yet, beneath it all, the shadows of Sophie's legacy lingered. The fallout wasn't over. Media outlets dug deeper, new investigations sparked, and threats still loomed. Maya and Ethan faced it together now, stronger as a team. One afternoon, Maya received a call that stirred everything up again. Leah's voice was urgent. We found something new. Another player connected to Sophie, someone unexpected. Maya's heart raced. Who? Her partner in crime, someone with influence even higher up. We need to act fast. That night, the team gathered, strategies shifting as the scale of the fight expanded. Maya felt the weight, but this time, she wasn't alone. Ethan by her side, friends and allies united. The road ahead was uncertain, but the fire inside her burned brighter than ever. As she lay in bed that night, Ethan's hand in hers, Maya closed her eyes with a quiet resolve. No matter what came next, she was ready. Because this time, she wasn't just fighting for justice. She was fighting for love, for hope, and for the future they could build together. Chapter 26. The revelation hit Maya like a thunderclap. Sophie wasn't acting alone. Leah's discovery pointed to someone far more powerful, someone operating behind layers of secrecy and influence. The stakes had just exploded. Maya sat in the dimly lit war room, the glow from the monitors casting sharp shadows across her face. Ethan was beside her, eyes narrowing as he absorbed the dossier Leah laid out. This guy, Leah said, tapping the screen, his name is Victor Langston. CEO of Langston Holdings, a conglomerate with fingers in every major industry, finance, politics, media. The kind of man who can bury scandals before they see daylight. Maya's stomach twisted. So Sophie was just a pawn? Maybe, Leah said. Or a partner who went rogue. Either way, Victor's involved, and he's dangerous. The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. Ethan finally spoke. We need to understand his motive. Why protect Sophie? What does he gain? Leah scrolled through encrypted communications intercepted from Victor's inner circle. Preliminary intel suggests a web of money laundering and political bribes. If Sophie's network was exposed, it could unravel Langston Holdings' empire. Maya clenched her fists. So if we take Sophie down, Victor's next. That night, Maya lay awake, thoughts swirling. The enemy was bigger than she imagined, and the battle had just moved to a whole new level. She knew they'd have to be smarter, faster, or risk everything. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Meet me at the usual spot. We need to plan. At a quiet rooftop cafe, overlooking the city lights, Ethan waited with his usual calm intensity. We can't just expose Victor the way we did Sophie. He controls too much, Ethan said, sipping his coffee. We need leverage. Something to force him into the open. Maya nodded, her mind racing. What about financial records? Something that proves his crimes beyond any doubt? Ethan smirked. Already in motion. Derek's hacking into Langston's offshore accounts. Maya smiled, a flicker of hope sparking. Good. Because this fight isn't just about justice anymore. It's personal. The following days were a whirlwind. Derek worked around the clock, hacking firewalls and bypassing security. Leah coordinated informants and whistleblowers. Maya and Ethan juggled court dates and media appearances, all while plotting the next move. Late one evening, Derek's triumphant voice cut through the tension. I've got it. Full financial trails, payments, shell companies, everything. Victor's hands are dirty. The team gathered to sift through the trove of data, names, dates, transactions, a tangled web exposing corruption on a massive scale. This is gold, Maya breathed. But it's risky. If Victor finds out we have this, he'll come after us hard. Ethan's gaze hardened. Then we hit him fast. A plan formed. Leak the evidence to trusted media outlets, trigger official investigations, and mobilize public outrage. But first, they needed to stay one step ahead. In the days leading up to the leak, Maya felt the pressure mounting. Strange cars prowled near her apartment. Anonymous calls rattled her phone. The paranoia crept in. One night, as she walked home, a shadow fell across her path. Going somewhere, Maya? She froze. It was Victor Langston himself, stepping out from the darkness, a cold smile playing on his lips. Victor, Maya said, voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. I should have guessed you'd show up. He chuckled, slow and menacing. I admire your tenacity, but you don't understand the world you're meddling in. Maya squared her shoulders. I understand enough to know you're a criminal, and you're going down. Victor's smile vanished, replaced by icy rage. Be careful what you wish for. He turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Maya trembling, equal parts terrified and defiant. Back inside, Maya relayed the encounter to Ethan and the team. We're close, Ethan said quietly. But this means he's scared. Maya nodded. And that means we're winning. The next morning, the evidence went live. Headlines exploded, politicians scrambled, and investigations launched. Victor's empire began to crack. But the battle was far from over. Late that night, Maya received a final chilling text. You started something you can't finish. Watch your back. Maya stared at the screen, determination hardening in her eyes. No matter what, she would see this through to the end. Because this was no longer just about the past. It was about the future. Hers, Ethan's, and everyone who deserved justice. Chapter 27. The city's pulse had shifted. Headlines screamed Victor Langston's name, exposing a titan trembling on the brink of collapse. But with power like his, the fall wouldn't be quiet, it would be brutal. Maya sat at her desk, the glow of her laptop illuminating a face marked by exhaustion and resolve. Ethan stood nearby, running a hand through his hair. We knew this wouldn't be easy, Ethan said, voice low. But now it's personal. Maya nodded, eyes flicking to the window where night had settled. He's going to strike back, hard. The next morning, Maya's phone buzzed violently. Unknown number. She answered, cautious. Miss Taylor, a cold voice said. Consider this a friendly warning. Back off, or face consequences you can't imagine. Maya's fingers tightened around the phone. I'm not scared of threats. The line went dead. That day, Maya's apartment was ransacked while she was at the office. Drawers pulled open, papers scattered, a silent message. She arrived to find Ethan waiting, worry etched deep. They were here, she said, voice trembling. We're not just fighting a corrupt man. We're fighting his entire network. Ethan pulled her into a firm hug. We'll get through this. At the precinct, Leah and Derek worked on tracing the break-in. No fingerprints, Leah reported grimly. Professional. Derek frowned. Someone wants us off the trail. Maya clenched her jaw. Then we have to be smarter. Days passed with escalating threats. Mysterious figures shadowed Maya's every step. One evening, as she left a cafe, a car sped by, nearly clipping her. Ethan grabbed her arm. Enough. Together, they decided it was time to go public, not just with the investigation, but with their own story. At a press conference, Maya faced a sea of cameras and flashing lights. She spoke with courage, detailing the threats, the corruption, and the fight for justice. We will not be intimidated, she declared. Truth will prevail. The crowd erupted in applause. But the victory was short-lived. That night, Ethan's phone buzzed. An encrypted message appeared on his screen. Tonight. Before he could react, gunshots shattered the silence outside. Chaos erupted. Ethan pushed Maya down as bullets smashed glass and tore through the street. Get down, he shouted, pulling her behind a nearby car. Sirens wailed in the distance. After what felt like an eternity, the shooters vanished. Police flooded the scene. Ethan checked Maya for injuries. Are you okay? She nodded, breath ragged. We need to move. This isn't over. Security tightened. Maya's team worked around the clock, uncovering the depth of Victor's reach into law enforcement and politics. It was a war fought in shadows. Despite the danger, Maya refused to back down. One late night, Ethan found her staring at news coverage, determination burning in her eyes. Why do you keep going? He asked softly. Because if I stop, she said, voice fierce, then everything we fought for means nothing. The final battle was coming. And Maya was ready. Chapter 28. The morning after the shooting, Maya awoke with a start. Her heart hammered in her chest, a shadow of the night's terror still clinging to her. The sun filtered through the curtains, casting soft light on the disarrayed living room, reminders of the chaos from the night before. Ethan was already up, his expression grim as he scrolled through his phone, eyes flicking anxiously between messages. He looked up as Maya stirred. Sleep well? He asked, though his voice was tight with worry. Not really, she admitted, pulling the covers tighter. I keep replaying it in my mind. What if next time? Ethan crossed the room, sitting beside her. There might not be a next time. We're taking every precaution now. Security is increased, the police are involved, and we have allies. Maya nodded, but the unease lingered. At the precinct, Leah and Derek pored over surveillance footage from the area surrounding the shooting. Grainy images flickered on the screen, a car speeding away, shadowy figures ducking into alleys. Leah rubbed her temples. They planned this. The shooters knew exactly where to strike and when to vanish. Derek leaned forward, eyes sharp. And it's not just muscle. Someone high up gave the order. We're dealing with a well-oiled machine. Leah tapped on her tablet. We need to cut their supply lines. Find the network behind the attack. Back at Maya's apartment, Ethan helped her set up a secure communication system. We'll encrypt everything, he explained, fingers flying over the keyboard. No one outside this circle gets through. Maya watched him, heart swelling with gratitude. Thank you for not giving up on me. Ethan smiled, but the weight in his eyes told another story. We're in this together. Meanwhile, Victor Langston sat behind the imposing desk in his penthouse office, the city sprawling beneath him like a chessboard. His phone buzzed. A message from a trusted lieutenant. The attack was successful. Targets survived but shaken. Victor's lips curled into a cold smile. Good. Let's remind them who's in control. He turned to a wall of screens displaying news coverage of the unfolding scandal. Let the media frenzy continue, he murmured. It'll distract them long enough for me to regroup. Maya's days blurred into nights as the pressure mounted. Meetings, interviews, strategizing, all under the watchful eyes of her security detail. One evening, as she prepared for a televised interview, Ethan pulled her aside. This isn't just about exposing Victor anymore, he said quietly. It's about protecting you and everyone involved. Maya took a deep breath. I know, and I'm ready. The interview aired live, Maya's words fierce and unyielding. I will not be silenced by threats or violence, she declared. This fight is bigger than any one person. It's about truth, justice, and the future of our society. The public response was overwhelming. Support poured in from all corners, activists, politicians, ordinary citizens. But with the spotlight came new dangers. Late one night, Maya found a mysterious package at her doorstep. Inside, a single black envelope. No return address. She opened it cautiously. Inside was a photo. Ethan, walking down a crowded street, unaware he was being watched. Panic surged through her veins. She called Ethan immediately. Did you see this? She asked, voice trembling. He listened, then clenched his jaw. They're sending messages. We're closer than ever. Determined not to be cowed, Maya doubled down on the investigation. Leah uncovered a whistleblower within Victor's company willing to talk. The meeting was arranged in a secluded park, under the cover of darkness. Maya, Ethan, and Leah arrived cautiously. From the shadows stepped a man, nervous, but resolute. I have proof, he whispered. Documents, emails, everything. Over the next days, the evidence poured in, a tapestry of lies, corruption, and greed. Maya and her team prepared to deliver the final blow. But Victor was already making his next move. On a cold, rainy night, Maya's phone buzzed again. A text. Meet me if you want to survive. Attached. A location. Ethan frowned. This could be a trap. Maya's jaw tightened. Or it's our last chance to end this. Together, they decided to go. Arriving at the abandoned warehouse, shadows danced in the flickering light. Inside, a figure emerged. Victor Langston. He smiled, eerily calm. Miss Taylor, I admire your tenacity, but this ends now. Maya stepped forward, voice steady. It ends when you're behind bars. Victor laughed, cold and cruel. We'll see. Chapter 29. The air inside the warehouse was thick with tension. Flickering overhead lights cast eerie shadows on the cracked concrete floor and rusted machinery. Maya's heart pounded, but her voice was steady. Victor, she said, stepping forward, it's over. Your empire is crumbling. Victor's icy gaze didn't waver. You think you've won? You're naive. Power doesn't disappear just because you want it to. Ethan stood beside Maya, fists clenched. You've hurt enough people. This ends tonight. Victor smirked. So brave. But you're out of your depth. Maya scanned the space. No obvious exits, no immediate backup. Victor had planned this. She had to stay sharp. Why all this? She demanded. Why protect Sophie? Why the attacks? Victor's eyes darkened. Sophie was useful, a tool. But I never trusted her fully. She nearly exposed everything. I had to send a message. Ethan's jaw tightened. That message nearly killed Maya. Victor shrugged. Collateral damage. In the game of power, sacrifices are inevitable. Maya felt a cold fury rise inside her. You're a coward hiding behind money and influence. You don't deserve to win. Victor laughed, a low, bitter sound. And what will you do? Arrest me? You're just one woman. You can't take down an empire. Maya stepped closer, voice fierce. I'm not alone. At that moment, headlights flooded the warehouse windows. Leah, Derek, and a team of officers swarmed in, guns drawn. Victor Langston, the lead officer, barked. You're under arrest for conspiracy, money laundering, and attempted murder. Victor's expression faltered, just for a moment. Fools, he spat. You don't know what you're dealing with. As officers cuffed him, Maya felt a wave of relief and triumph wash over her. Ethan touched her shoulder gently. We did it. Maya exhaled, eyes scanning the room. This isn't just a victory, it's a turning point. Outside, the media waited, cameras flashing. Maya stepped forward, addressing the crowd. This was never about one person, she said. It was about shining light on corruption and fighting for justice. Together, we can change the system. Cheers erupted. Later, as the city began to breathe easier, Maya and Ethan stood on the rooftop overlooking the skyline. Do you think it's really over? Maya asked softly. Ethan smiled, pulling her close. For now. But we'll always have each other. And that's enough. Maya nodded, heart full. The past was behind them. The future, uncertain but hopeful, awaited. Chapter 30. The morning light spilled softly over the city as Maya stood on her balcony, coffee warming her hands. The air was crisp, fresh, a sharp contrast to the storm she'd just weathered. The news still buzzed with Victor Langston's arrest, headlines screaming triumph, justice, and hope. Behind her, Ethan stirred, stepping onto the balcony with a slow smile. "You're up early," he said. Maya shrugged, her gaze lingering on the horizon. "I guess it's hard to sleep when everything changes." Ethan leaned against the railing beside her, his presence grounding. "It's a new day, one we fought hard for." The weeks since Victor's downfall had been a whirlwind. Maya's life had transformed from a dangerous game of survival into a movement, a beacon for others fighting corruption, injustice, and fear. She was invited to speak at conferences, write op-eds, and lead initiatives. But for all the acclaim, the fight had changed her. That afternoon, Maya met with Leah and Derek in a quiet cafe. Leah sipped her latte, eyes bright. "You did more than just expose Victor. You inspired people." Derek nodded. "I've been on cases before, but this felt different. You brought truth out of the shadows." Maya smiled, but inside, she felt the exhaustion creeping back. "Thank you," she said softly. "But the real work begins now, rebuilding, reforming." Back at her apartment, Maya found herself alone with her thoughts. The silence felt heavy. Ethan entered quietly, setting down a file he'd brought. "I've been reviewing the case files," he said. "There are still loose ends, but we've got a strong foundation." Maya looked up, grateful. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Ethan's smile was warm but serious. "You don't have to do this alone." That evening, Maya sat at her desk, drafting her next big project. A book chronicling the fight, the people involved, and the hope for change. As she typed, her phone buzzed with a message from Sophie, the woman who'd been caught in the middle of the chaos. "Thank you, Maya, for not giving up." Maya's heart softened. Forgiveness was a long road, but maybe, just maybe, healing could begin. The following weekend, Maya and Ethan walked through a bustling park, sunlight dappling through the trees. Children laughed nearby. Couples strolled hand in hand. Ethan stopped, turning to her. "You've come so far." Maya smiled, eyes shining. "So have you." He reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Days turned into months. Maya's book launched to critical acclaim, sparking conversations and inspiring action. Her relationship with Ethan deepened, built on trust, resilience, and the scars they shared. One quiet night, Maya found herself back on the rooftop where they'd celebrated Victor's arrest. The city lights twinkled below, alive with possibility. Ethan joined her, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Ready for the next chapter?" he asked. Maya leaned into him, heart full. More than ever. As they looked out at the city, a symbol of battles fought and victories earned, Maya knew the fight for justice was far from over. But with love, courage, and hope, anything was possible.